So yeah, I'm Luke, and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about, this talk is titled The Missing Layer, Needed to Unlock User Agency. And the good news is this layer has already been shipped in Chrome. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it and how you can turn it on. Okay, cool. I'm a wing this talk. I've just finished putting it together. So, and I'm also really bad at time management. So I've got a little clock here, and I'm going to jump to the next section as we go. The entire talk is being given in teal draw. I love teal draw, which you'll see more of in a minute. Okay, so let's start with a little intro. And tell me if you can see or read as I go. All right, so yeah, this is me, Luke. I'm not actually from America. I live in Thailand. I've lived in Thailand for the last 20 years. And I think a lot about not the Roman Empire, but how the open web can win. Yeah, my focus is really on the intersection between these layers. So operating systems, the web browser, and web apps. I think it's at the intersection between our technologies is where interesting things can happen. I also find it really fascinating why these boundaries exist between different parts. So yeah, a little quote from Alan Kay: "The best way to predict the future is to invent it." So here I am, trying to do that today. It's the first time I'm talking about it and sharing it with you guys. I hope afterwards you can come up and talk to me, because I've got hours of this I can spew out. Right, we've got 5 minutes for every section, so let's go. Right, so how did I get here? Well, in my past life, not really past life, I'm just ending it now. I was the CTO of ScreenCloud for the last 10 years. ScreenCloud is one of the world's leading digital signage companies. What's digital signage? Well, we're essentially in the business of cloud-controlled screens. And what is a cloud-controlled screen? Well, really it's running a web browser. And so we work across all different operating system platforms, everything, your normal platforms, and also your smart TV platforms like WebOS, Tizen, etc. We even make our own hardware. And so my connection to FUTO is I'm helping FUTO a little bit with an upcoming hardware project they've got. I'm just kind of helping them with some advice and so on. And that's kind of how I got to know Aaron. We had a nice call on Signal, and he invited me here today to talk about the thing I'm really passionate about. Okay, so yeah, I'm almost a free agent. I resigned my position as CTO, but it took about 6 months for me to finish in that company. And the company is, I'm exiting the company next week. So yeah, I'm almost a free agent, ready to go and do the thing I want to do next. Okay, so a little bit about me. I won't bore you with too much of this. I've been living in Thailand for the last 20 years. For the last 4 years, I've been living on a beach. People often say, I'll just go live on a beach when I'm done with this or whatever. Or maybe I'll go live on a beach and wait for all this AI stuff to blow over. I just want to point out we do have fiber on the beach. So, you can go live on a beach now. It's totally possible. You can do it. So, yeah, we're in the world. There in the middle of the Gulf of Thailand, in a very small island called Koh Phangan. You might have heard of it. It's the island where they have the full moon party. It's kind of like 50% detox, 50% retox, pretty much. It's where the hippies went, basically, at one point, and then it became famous for parties, and it's kind of got both of those two sides. But where I live, it's on a beach. I've got about 1 kilometer of beach, and it's just jungle around me, so it's pretty much just me in the jungle. Yep. Okay, so if you're curious, there's some photos and stuff in there. You can hit it up. This whole slide presentation thing you can access via the QR code on the front of it, which I'll share again at the end. Okay, so yeah, I said I think a lot. I think too much. And as I said, I think a lot about the open web and how the open web wins, especially what's coming. What's coming down the pipe is going to be insane. I think anyone who's a software engineer who follows AI understands that it's about to get weird, really weird, and it's going to hit us real hard. And so as I'm sitting there on the beach, I'm wondering how I can possibly survive in this future. I mean, I could just throw my MacBook in the sea and sip coconuts, but there's not much fun in that. It's obvious to me our computers are going to change. And the thing that scares me the most is with every platform change, we lose control. We get less and less control. Things get more and more locked down. So with this platform change that's coming, how can we as users ensure that we have user agency? And that's the thing that keeps me up at night. So just a few of my tweets here. I believe the next big computing platform will be web-based and will be AI-generated. It just makes sense that this layer will be over the top of everything we have today, so we don't have to reinvent that stuff. This represents a massive threat to the existing gatekeepers. Another one here. The web OS of the future will likely grow out of a web-based whiteboard. This thing. I actually believe that this thing is going to become the OS of the future. Bit weird, but we'll get there, and as to how. And then, I've been tweeting about it for a while, trying to get other people to do it, but nobody's listening. So here you go. Here's my 4-step plan. Fork Chromium. Keep WebView-like things. You've probably never heard of WebView in Chromium, but I'll get into that in a minute. Add SWA on top-level super web apps. Unlock agency to build the future on our terms. Oh, God. My time management is terrible. I'm going to have to jump. All right, 6 minutes. Right, let's get going. All right, skip that bit. Let's go to the next one. All right, so why do we need this? The layer that decides the final pixels has the most power. So what we're going to see is all of these different companies right now are building AI-based browsers. They're all forking Chrome and building their own browsers. And they're going to try and sell you on their version of the future. And then they're going to try and get you hooked. And then you're going to put your data in. And we're going to be, in a worse situation we are now. Yes, you're going to get some wonderful AI baked in, and it's all going to be wonderful and everything. But we're going to lose control. And so the person said this is Alex. He was actually the lead for the Chrome team for 8 years. And I've been chatting to him about what I'm doing, and he's been joining the community we have as well. So he understands the problem more than anyone else. Okay, so moving on. Okay, quick. Oh, okay, I'm on time now, I think, maybe. So yeah, a little bit of history lesson. Right, so I made this thing. It's a kind of computer history timeline that I put together as I was doing my research. Again, you can see I like TLDraw. If you have a look at this whole thing, you can click on here and then go there. It is history here, as it goes along. It's got everything in it. You can see my mind is a little bit crazy. Anyway, let's go back to here. Right, so what I want to talk about is 1995. And 1995, 1996 is a really interesting time in computing history. It's basically around the time we had Netscape Navigator. And Netscape was in ascendance. And actually Netscape as a company was worth more than Microsoft at that time. Microsoft Windows was an application that you booted from DOS, right? So we're in a kind of, and people were using Netscape on all sorts of different platforms. And Mark Andreessen, the original egghead, sorry, I'm going to die for that one, was going around, and Netscape kind of got ahead of itself. And Netscape, he was going around saying the browser will become the OS, right? He was working on a thing called Netscape 1 and Netscape Constellation. And you can go read about it. Netscape was kind of trying to build this vision of the future in which the browser would become the operating system. It would have web apps. It would have file system. It would have all these things that operating systems have today. And it would be delivered over the top of existing operating systems. Now, guess who found that a threat? Bill. Bill was like, hell no, you're not going to do that. And so Microsoft, originally they had this thing called Microsoft Blackbird, which was like their own version of the web. And thankfully they didn't get to ship Blackbird to everyone. But he went ahead and created the IE team, and they made Internet Explorer. The first version was a bit shitty, but they bundled it into Windows for free, and thereby killed Netscape. And this is a really interesting photo here, because this photo, if I zoom in a little bit, there's a lot of history in this photo. So this is the IE team. When they shipped IE, they went over to the Netscape team's office, and they dumped a giant E in front of their office to kind of, say, haha, we've arrived. To which Netscape replied by putting their kind of, what's this thing? Their dinosaur thing, whatever it was, on top of it, to kind of, and here they're making the point that Netscape's market share at that point, or market cap was 74 versus Microsoft's, I can barely read it, but I think it's 19. So they're making a point that Netscape's actually way bigger than Microsoft at that time. Obviously, we're not happened in history, and Microsoft won, because generally free wins. And what happened after that was we got the DOJ case against Microsoft. And the DOJ came along and whooped Microsoft for antitrust. And Bill Gates' one main argument against that was that you can't separate the operating system and the web browser. Like, you can go watch the videos. He's making that argument. He says they're one and the same thing. They're destined to be together. And yet the DOJ came down hard on Microsoft. And that's kind of double-edged sword thing, really, because what we got was browser independence. We got the right to choose our browser on our operating systems, right? And we have that right today on desktop, but we do not have that right on mobile, especially on iOS. We have it on Android, right? So 3 out of the 4 platforms, you can choose your browser. And that's really important. Okay, I'm going to skip this bit with Steve Jobs. Someone can watch it later. It's kind of interesting. And then, okay. So IE won for a bit, and then out of the ashes of Netscape came Mozilla. They open sourced the code, and it took them a few years, and then they launched Firefox. And Firefox brought us the one innovation that we've had in browsers, in browser UI in the last 20 years, which was tabs. Yay, tabs. Nothing's really changed since, A few years later, Google rocked up, and they brought us process isolation, which is basically, tabs crash on their own. Great. So I called this, look at this. Chrome is, be honest, how many tabs do you have open right now? They're actually promoting the fact that their UI is terrible. And I would say that that's a UX design problem or a whole system design problem rather than a thing to be promoted. I call it the tyranny of tabs, and it's something we need to fix if we're going to break free. Okay, so I'm really not sure how I'm doing on time, but let's keep going. All right, so I said earlier that the way to fix this is already been shipped in Chrome, and it's called IWAs. Can you raise your hand if you've heard of IWAs? Wait, only because I told you about it, right? All right, you ain't heard of it, right? Why haven't you heard of it? What's an IWA? Well, I'm going to tell you, right? But it's interesting that you haven't heard about it. It's because Google doesn't actually want you to know about it. Right? They've not promoted it, and it's kind of hidden inside Chrome. I know about it because I worked in that space with Chrome OS and kind of Chrome platform apps and all that world. So what is an isolated web app? Well, it's a web application that's bundled, and it's not tied to origin, the origin model. Typical web applications, all of the security is tied to a domain, and we call that origin isolation. With an IWA, it's kind of packaged into an application. You can think of it as a zip file, which is signed, fully signed, with a public-private key. So the identity of the security of the IWA is tied to the public key, not to a domain, which means that IWAs can be passed around via other channels. You could get them from a friend. You could do peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer. Because with the origin model, with domains, there's a point of control, right? If they want to shut you down, they take down the domain, and your app's not working anymore. With an IWA, because it's tied to a public key, there's no central point of control. If you can get the IWA, you can run it. The other property of an IWA is you know that it hasn't been tampered with because it's fully signed with that key. So it's really interesting for crypto and other things. So why did Google make IWAs? Well, they made Chrome OS, and on Chrome OS they had a bunch of native features. Things like direct sockets, web views, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and other things, and web USB, web Bluetooth, etc., etc. A lot of these technologies they brought to the open web, and through a project, I think it was called Project FUTO, which was to bring these to the normal Chrome and ship them in Chrome for everyone to use. But they were left with a handful of features that they deemed too too scary, too risky, too powerful to be released onto the open web. And one of those features was the web view feature. And what the web view feature does is it allows you to load a web application within a web application. So I don't know if you've got a web application and you've loaded something inside an iframe. If the thing that you load inside the iframe comes from another origin, that iframe's a black box. You don't even know if the thing's loaded inside the iframe. Right, so yeah, iframes suck. I'm sorry, but they do. They suck for a good reason, for security. But web view tags in Chrome platform allowed you to load another application within a web application as if that application was a top-level application. And the application being loaded didn't know, and you had full control over it. You can modify the JavaScript, you can modify the DOM, you can read the DOM, you can intercept requests, you can modify requests, etc. Right? So this allows the containing application to fully control the regular web application that's loading. This is the key unlock for user agency, because it allows us to build a two-layer system on the web today. Well, actually, let me back up a bit. How am I doing on time? 60 minutes. Okay, keep going. This is the key thing. Think about your computer. If you want user agency, you need a way to control your computer, right? So if you think about the layers of your computer, which layers do you control? Do I control the hardware? No. Do I control the operating system? No. Do I control the web browser? Well, not really, because it's Google and I get it from Google, it's Chrome. Yeah? Do I control a third-party web application? No. So there's no layer I control. Let's go through that again. Can I change it? Hardware, no. Operating system, no. Browser, oh, yes. Third-party web application, no. Okay, so the place where we can insert user agency, the only place that's possible, unless we build everything from ground up, is to modify the browser. And so we've got two choices. We change our existing browsers, or we build new browsers from ground up, which Andreas is doing. Much respect. Yeah, but I'm taking a different approach. I'm having a look at the existing browser and I'm saying, is there something there that we can change? Is there something there that we can use to unlock it today? And it turns out there is. It's IWAs and controlled frame. So what are they? How do they work? Here's the isolated web app control frame test page that Google shipped that you can go and try out. And as you can see, you can kind of set all these properties and basically what you get, it's like a building block for building a browser, but you get to build the browser UI yourself. And so with that, it's such a powerful thing, because if you were to boot into your own layer, i.e. your IWA, and then use that layer to load everything else you load becomes mutable. It can be changed. Any preference you have. And with the power of AI, whoa, all bets are off, right? So another analogy for this is we've kind of been raw dogging the web. But with this, we can build our own security and our own layer to go through, our own web-based condom. Okay, so here you go. It's a good analogy, I like that one. All right, I also came up with this idea, I called it super web apps, because I didn't like the name IWA. Sounds a bit isolated, controlled. Oh, by the way, you can only use IWAs today, in Chrome OS with an enterprise policy, with a particular policy turned on for particular partners, with the approval of your enterprise admin, who must add the policy key beforehand, right? Wow, they don't want you using this stuff. But it turns out, like every feature in Chrome, there are dev flags to turn this stuff on, because developers don't develop things on Chrome OS, right? And developers need to develop things. So in order to turn IWAs on in this wonderful world, all we need to do is add the dev flags into Chrome and launch Chrome in the right way. Ta-da, it all works. It works on Windows, it works on Mac. It works in Chrome, it works in Chromium, it works in Edge. It's already shipped, and it's out there today. You could go ahead and use it today if you want. So this is my kind of vision of how these things would work. Why would you want this? Well, right now, today, when you use a web application, you use a single application at a time inside a tab, right? We use web applications like we used to use MS-DOS applications, one at a time, right? Then we went to the world of a GUI and we had multiple applications running. We could copy and paste things between them and so on. But if you run through an IWA, you can run multiple web applications at the same time that you can modify, and then you can extract data out of them or control them, and then you can build more applications out of them. You can compose web applications, right? I really want this. Right? I imagine having my Claude open and my different AI apps and everything, and then running the AI in the IWA layer and having it, use all those different apps for me. That would be amazing. So that's kind of what I want to build. Right, I'm way behind on time, so let's keep going. Okay, I hope some of this is landing. Right, so hacking at the intersection between operating system, browsers, and web. So as I said before, my focus is these bits in between. And kind of what I'm focused on is, look, I got to the point in my company that I'm now exiting the company. I could just not work again, right? But I want to build the computer that I want. And to build the computer that I want, I have to add these little bits in between the layers. So, rather than just having this is what I want. You've got your operating system, you've got a system launcher. I'm using Tauri for it, so it's Rust, basically. So I've got my own system that can integrate with the native layer. That then orchestrates Chrome, launches Chrome properly with a separate profile. And then Chrome, running in a special mode, loads the IWA. And the IWA acts as my kind of web-based desktop layer, which then accesses the rest of the web. So yeah, the answer to solving this problem is just more layers. Who knew? I call it the missing layer. Okay, so quick demo. So this is, I wouldn't actually try a live demo here, but you can come up and see it afterwards if you want. So this is the kind of shitty app I made in Tauri. It's an IWA launcher. All it really does is auto-update, so I can deliver updates to people. It can launch Chrome and install an IWA, so it kind of orchestrates that process. It can launch IWAs and kill IWAs. I also bundled Bun. I'm looking to bundle Podman so it can run containers. It's basically going to be my native part of the operating system. That can then load. Here's my IWA. This IWA, I did a little UI here, and I'm running 3 different separate web applications in it. In one of them, I'm logged into Claude. So yeah, it's pretty basic. I haven't really worked on the UI much because I'm focused on the enabling this to work, and also kind of sharing how this is possible with people. What this enables is full control. So here we've got controlled web view. You can control the applications in 3 ways. You can inject JavaScript, right? So run any JavaScript in the context of the web application. You can intercept the requests, modify the requests the application is making. Because you launch Chrome with special flags, you can also turn on DevTools and then connect back into it with DevTools. So then you've got the full Chrome DevTools protocol to basically manage that. So yeah, okay, let's carry on. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna get a bit off the deep end here. So Chrome doesn't have this turned on by default. You need dev flags. But for me to enable that, you need to install this Tauri app, which then orchestrates Chrome. That's okay, it's a bit hacky. Eventually, it would be nice if you didn't have to do that. You could just download a browser that had this stuff turned on. Well, it turns out the lines in Chrome, Chrome is 35 million lines of code, I think. But the lines to turn this on is only like changing 5 lines of code. So we can totally do a patch on Chromium, or ungoogled Chromium, and turn this on by default, and then we'll have our own Chromium fork. And then I had the problem. I've got a new browser, right? I've got to give it a name. So I decided to call it Zenon, because it's also an element in the periodic table, and it's a noble gas, and you can't fuck with it. And then I needed a company or an organization or something behind this, and I thought, what would the organization that makes Zenon be called? I decided to call it Agent 54. Someone might get the reference. And then, here's my kind of big picture view of how I see these pieces fitting together. It's a bit mad, but I won't go into detail explaining it. We don't have time. But this is basically the IWA running, but we'd also have a mobile app because, a canvas-based UI doesn't really make sense on a mobile. It have to be something different. And it kind of marries the web browser and the whole Tauri Rust backend into a system that brings it all together that I would be happy to use as my computer. And the wonderful thing, I call it Zenon, I call the short form of this Z. Zenon, actually, sorry, I'm saying it wrong. I'm saying it the English way. Zenon, not Zenon. It would be called Z, and I'm building this for me. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I'm going to build it anyway. Right, let's carry on. Here we go. So I think it was Gordon that said this. Gordon's like one of the known people in the web circles. He said, a browser engine is a complete beast with a particular metabolism, and forking one is like adopting an elephant. If you fork a browser engine in any significant way, you will accidentally turn your project into a browser project, and you will have to hire a dozen C++ engineers to get anywhere. That sounds like fun. But I wonder if I can do something closer to this, which is an elephant with an egret on its head. So the egret would be my little launcher thing that sits around it. And maybe we don't even need an elephant, right? Maybe we can just release some mice into the world, which is what I'm doing today by sharing the information about IWAs and how you can use this. So you can all go off and scurry around and make your own little web-based desktops and stuff like that, and we're on our way to winning. Or maybe I let the cat out of the bag and we build the launcher thing and I release that publicly, and regular folk can actually use this stuff. But I hope where we'll end up is somewhere closer to that eventually. And it's already working. We're already doing it. I'm sharing this around in the community. I'll get to the community in a second. How are we doing? 26 minutes. Woo. And other people are starting to build their own web-based desktops with it, with the full power that this unlocks. So we're all already on our way. There's an example there. Right, let's move on. Okay, cool. But what we did was we set up a userandagents.com, which is a community for people interested in what comes next on the web. It's not about my project Z. It's not about Zenon. It's just a community for people to share what they're doing and what their vision of this is. And it turns out there wasn't really a good community out there for this, and we've kind of lucked out because lots of amazing people from the web browser space have been joining, and we've now got about 100 people in there, and it's great. Every day more people join and are sharing really interesting stuff. So, I mean, I call it, maybe it's a bit much, but it's kind of modern day homebrew computer club for geeks building what comes next. There's a wealth of brilliant information. It wasn't just me. I've teamed up with a few awesome people. One is Dietrich. He used to be the lead for Firefox OS. May it rest in peace. So he knows a little bit about web-based operating systems. He's also the guy who works at Protocol Labs working on IPFS. And he's worked in that browser space world for quite a while. And the other guy is Ankesh. Ankesh is a kind of beautiful mind from India who's fairly young and just absorbs an incredible amount of information. So he's also been kind of key to us starting this thing. And we built this community now. And what's wonderful is it's starting to grow. People are sharing that, what's this, Boris? Boris is like big, he seems to know everyone. He's big in the blue sky, what's that, AT protocol space. But he keeps sharing our little community, and more people keep coming every day. This Chris, I think it's Chris, I don't want to say his second name, I don't know what it is. Chris Data, maybe. He agrees. And then you see people turning up, another Chris Shark, from Folk Systems. They're doing all sorts of interesting experiments about where the interface goes next. Ryan Reed as well. So there's loads of really interesting, good people coming and joining the community. There was another one. God, I've got his name. Let's not just say. Let's just say Web Applets. The guy who's making Web Applets has also turned up, and he's part of the crew. Web Applets is a wonderful way to actually bridge that gap across iframes, so that you can put a protocol either side of the iframe, and the AI can understand what's there. Okay, so I recommend you scan that QR code and join our little community space if you can. In there, I put that we're almost 100. We're over 100 people. It was a lie. We're like 98, but I'm pretty sure by the end of this talk we'll be over 100. Right, yeah, I think I'm done. Am I on time? 29 minutes, look at that, amazing. If you want to view this and the other history one, just scan that QR code and you'll get to here. And then from there, you can also get to here. And you can spend hours in there watching stuff. I recommend this one, Ted Nelson. Does anyone know who Ted Nelson is? Put your hand up if you know who Ted Nelson is. Okay, 2, 3. Go learn about Ted Nelson. He's a wonderful guy. He's like 97 now. He probably won't be with us for much longer, but if I could meet him in person, I'd be so happy. This video here, Ted talks about Xerox PARC. And it's really interesting because the common story of Xerox PARC is that they gave us the GUI, right? Or he calls it the PUI because it came from PARC user interface. He says it wasn't just a graphical interface, it was their one. And he's a bit bitter about it. He likes to rant about things in his own way. And he makes the point that when we moved from terminal-based UI to graphical UI, they threw away end-user programming. Right? We lost it. It was gone in the dustbin. Right? And we haven't got it back in all these years. But when you have a layer that you control that's web-based, that's fully mutable, end-user programming is coming back. And it's coming back with a vengeance. So yeah, definitely watch that video if you can by Ted Nelson. QR code back for the whole thing, right? Okay, I'm coming. Here you go, that's the main QR code, right? And there, from there you can get to the other ones. It's a wealth of knowledge. And yeah, so I want to just say thank you to Erin for inviting me out here. Massive respect to Andreas. And yeah, come join the community. And I'm going to build my thing. You build your thing. We'll see where we end up. Thank you.